Turtle power. All right. We'll see if we get in trouble for that. Just going to take a quick check here, make sure that the audio levels are, actually working for us. All right. Yeah, that sounds fine. Let me know in the comments if you don't think so. So, yeah, I just watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. And honestly, I got to tell you, I genuinely really enjoyed this movie. It's not perfect, what movie is out there, but as far as like a faithful adaptation to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as I know them, and I mean, I'll be perfectly transparent here. I'm not like the world's foremost Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle expert. If you're looking for that, that is definitely this is not the place to be. But I did grow up on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I watched those three movies that came out when I was a kid, and I caught a decent amount of the TV show, as well as played with a lot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle toys as a kid. And again, I gotta say, I genuinely thoroughly enjoyed this adaptation of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So I'll just kind of shrink myself down here as we just sort of get talking about what was actually good about this movie. I'll give you my first impressions here first. So like first impressions, this movie's fun. It's genuinely the kind of movie that okay, it's a kids movie. It's a kids movie. Go into it knowing, it's a kids movie. I'll say for a kids movie, it was violent as shit. There's like a lot of ass kicking going on in it. And a lot of really well animated ass kicking. This image that I have up like behind me here is actually in the movie. There are several kind of fantasy sequences where the turtles are imagining themselves, fighting crime and kind of what their destiny will be like, where you do get those beautiful white eye animations. So I got to say, overall, I did enjoy this movie. It was a lot of fun. It's not woke at all. If that's like something that concerns you, that you don't have to worry about it here because there's really not much of it. I know a lot of people have some reservations about certain aspects of the movie, but I can honestly say that with the exception of, I would put it at about like 3% modern sensibility put into this movie. With the exception of that, you are just going to get a fun romp with the turtles here, man. It's a really well constructed story, and then like beyond that, it's just a lot of fun. So again, give you my overall impressions here without any spoilers in case like you've been reserved about this flick at all or anything like that. Go see it. If you're one of those like people that is at the point in your life where you grew up on turtles and you have a kid and you're maybe like a little nervous, here's the turtles I grew up on, by the by the way. This is what we had at first. And I gotta say, like, again, I was just a tiny bit had a tiny bit of reservation about this new adaptation, but overall, it's one of the better adaptations of Ninja Turtles that I've ever seen. I just got to lay it out there to it. So if you're like me and you grew up with some iteration of the Turtles that looked like this, and you especially even have like a youngster, then this is definitely a movie to go and see like with your kid. You're not gonna get overloaded with total bullcrap. You're just gonna enjoy a Ninja Turtles movie. So overall, this movie really kind of stood up for me. It surprised me. It's made by the same studio that does Into the Spider-Verse, as you may have known, or might even honestly just be able to guess from like the general overall animation that we got going on in this thing. But what I like about it, and what you might be able to tell from the still screenshots, you might not be able to as much, is that it has a lot more of like that comic book cartoon style to it. And I got to say, that's another thing I really liked about this movie. I just like the design overall of the turtles and like the world that they lived in, man. We got Splinter here, old Splinter, and the big bad Killer Moth. You've got the new April O'Neil. And I know that there was like a lot of I know there was a lot of reservation around April O'Neil going into this, and obviously they've adapted her, they've changed her look, and I can understand thinking, oh crap, what's this all about? But what I will genuinely say is that for me personally, the slight changes the slight changes in April's design really weren't that big of a deal for me in this movie. Now, again, I'll say I'm not the world's most hardcore Turtles fan. I love the Turtles. I grew up with the Turtles, but this isn't like my ground to live and die on. So I will admit, it's not like I have these massively close personal connections to April O'Neil. But for the most part, I didn't mind her character. So again, too, if you like have some reservations based on just some of the changes you've seen to this character, and what I'll tell you first off is you're not wrong, because there's a lot of changes that get made to characters sometimes that are for no reason other than a really superficial or like whatever, like surface reason that they're choosing to make that decision. So what I can tell you about April is that her looks don't play too much into the change in the character. She's still a hard-hitting reporter. It's a very young version of the character. I mean, I gotta be honest, like, I know she was supposed to be really young in the cartoon that I watched as a kid too. She was supposed to be like a teenager just like them, but she very much feels like a teenager, is a teenager. And again, what I'll say to you is like if you watch Peacemaker, very much reminds me of like, the Adubayu character, where you might think to yourself, okay, I'm feeling a little judgmental. I've been burned in the past with a lot of like overt messaging. Not here, she just is who she is. She's a very enjoyable character. She's got a nice little arc in it, man. So that kind of brings me to the next thing I want to really praise about this movie, which is just the great cast that we had in this thing. I was especially critical of Seth Rogen in his portrayal of Donkey Kong in the Super Mario Bros. Movie, which I'll I'm gonna say this right now, and a little bit of a hot take. I can admit that. I think that's for sure. This Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie was overall, in my opinion, a better movie than the Super Mario Bros. Movie. If nothing else, for the fact that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem promises you Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with Mutant Mayhem going on. And let me tell you, you get plenty of Mutant Mayhem in this movie. What you didn't get in the Super Mario Bros. Movie was the Super Mario Bros. The whole way through. We got the Super Mario Bros. Together up until like the very end of the first act. Whole second act, they are completely separate. And up until spoiler alert here for the Mario Bros. Movie, if you're one of the last people on Earth that hasn't seen it, towards the end, they reunite about halfway through the third act, and then we get the Super Mario Bros. Again. So overall, I mean, I'm gonna try to do a more in-depth review on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and just why I would recommend it. But overall, I would say it is honestly a tighter movie than even Super Mario Bros. And I think it was the most enjoyable animated movie that I saw this year. So the cast is really enjoyable, and I was really critical of Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong in Super Mario Bros. And I mean, what I'll criticize him for still kind of stands in that. And to be fair, I had this interview clip where he's like, "Well, if you cast me as Donkey Kong, I'm just gonna be Donkey Kong, or I'm just gonna be myself. I'm just gonna do my own voice. I'm not doing a voice for Donkey Kong." So it's the opposite of what I first said. He's not doing a voice. With Bebop, he at least makes an effort. He's got a little bit of a New York accent going on. So I thought that was particularly interesting that when it comes to his own movie that he's producing, his own artistic vision, he's willing to do an accent. But then again, upon thinking about that a little bit harder, he did tell the people in Super Mario Bros. That he was just going to do his own voice. And at the end of the day, Donkey Kong is a gorilla. So what kind of accent do you want him to do? New York accent, a little bit different than doing a voice. And that being said, Seth Rogen producing this, if you're one of these people too who's like, oh, Seth Rogen, no thanks. I kind of get it. He's worn a little thin in more recent years, but I will say, minor character in Bebop, rock steady, enjoyable, but again, so some minor spoilers here. Minor characters, very much minor characters. You're not going to get a ton of lines from Bebop or Rocksteady, and it's not like Seth Rogen playing him is going to ruin your experience. Let me touch for just a second again, without spoilers, on just how much I enjoyed the Turtles in this iteration. I don't have their names pulled up and all that stuff. I'm sure we'll know them soon enough. But the kids who played the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in this movie, like, absolutely deserve like some kind of like whatever, like some kind of award, MTV Movie Award or whatever, for best ensemble cast, because I really thought that they brought it, man. Like, the one thing you will get in this movie that I can promise you, if you like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, is you will get like a nice, accurate adaptation of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You've got, again, just like the song, starting it off, man. Leonardo, like, trying to lead the team. They're legit teenagers, and that was something else that was handled pretty well. You as someone who is, I'll admit, not by much, but twice the age of the protagonists in this story, uh, over twice the age, not by much, but still over. As someone who's over twice the age of the protagonist, you get the sense that they feel like 15-year-olds. There's enough slang that they're throwing around that I'm not super familiar with. But at the same time, it doesn't wear on you in the way you might fear it does. Again, because it's a movie aimed at, let's be like for real, like, it's a movie aimed at sub 18 audiences. And that's not to say that you won't enjoy it as a teenage, even a very casual Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan like me. You're going to enjoy this movie if you liked them at all. If you watch the cartoon, the movies, if you played with the toys, you're going to have some stuff that just like hits in your mind. Which is another thing, as I'm taking a little aside from just kind of praising the Turtles here, that this movie did really, really well, though. Just like the Mario movie, which I do give the Mario Bros. Movie full credit for, which is weaving in the nostalgia really, really well. The nostalgia is kind of just weaved into this movie artfully. It's just like a little seam on the coat. It doesn't stand out, and it's just there. And you're going to have a couple of chuckles, a few in particular. One I'll give you in a little bit, again, when we get to more of the spoiler side of things. But as far as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles go, man, they're great. You've got Leonardo leading the team, man. He's kind of like learning how to sort of be the team leader. You could criticize a little bit, just sort of being like, well, why is he the team leader? We sort of come into the situation. They're 15. He's in charge. You don't really get much of an explanation, but that's what we know him as an audience. So, like, what more do you what more do you want there? You've got Michelangelo. He's like kind of the aloof, artsy type, and then you've got Donatello, who is the one who does machines. He is kind of your like gamer, nerd, comic like enthusiast. There's not a lot of inventing that he's got going on, so much as he's like, sort of a tech guy and he's tech savvy and stuff like that. So we'll see kind of where that goes. And then Raphael, who I've saved the best for last year, because I swear to God, man, Raphael, my favorite character in this movie. And that might say a little something about like where I've come as a person and an adult. But I gotta honestly say, as someone who grew up loving Michelangelo, being a big old Mikey guy, Raphael was my absolute favorite character in this movie. So Raphael really brought it to the table. I was enjoying Raph, man. Uh he, they captured it though. He's the angry one, he's the big one. That's another thing. The turtles, which doesn't always come through as much, maybe a little bit more here. Let's minimize me in this image of their toys. Nah, not really. Yeah, you get it here pretty good. The turtles are animated differently enough that it's actually pretty nice. Like Raphael, you can see is the biggest. He's the most physical. He's got the what do they call those? The like tri-stars or whatever, like size or whatever, man. The Electra weapons. Uh Leonardo in front, leading the team, obviously. Donatello in the back with the glasses. There's sort of this running joke that like he's just got like a stick. Well, which is funny enough. You think about it. I mean, but yeah, as we know, like big old wooden staff mess people up. And Michelangelo. I'll say we get some really good training montages in the beginning of this movie from both like the turtles just working together, and then like as it progresses to them kind of like learning how to work as a team and like fighting and all that stuff. But overall, man, like really strong casting with the turtles. I like what I gotta say is like I genuinely think this franchise is in good hands. You've got again the studio animating the Spider-Verse movies, which even though I was a little bit critical of Across the Spider-Verse, I thought I thought it could have been a little tighter. I thought that the cliffhanger ending was a little bit cheap. Uh Overall though, man, I really like the work that they do, man. And again, the turtles look good. They look good in their toy forms, you know. They look good in the movie. It's got a much more cartoony look to it than say your average. And yeah, the turtles are young, but they're teenagers. There's a lot of heart in this movie too. The Splinter portrayal is from Jackie Chan particularly great. He was definitely up there for like characters that I genuinely really enjoyed. And then as sort of a foil to him, you've got Superfly, and the foil there is that, as you can imagine from Splinter's background, if you're remotely familiar with your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, well, Splinter does not like people, does not trust people, and neither does our main villain, Superfly. That was another cool thing. Again, this movie promises mutant mayhem, and let me tell you, it absolutely delivers on mutant mayhem. You've just got a crazy cast of characters here. Salamander guy, Bebop, Rocksteady, uh, Genghis, Frog, Leatherhead. Here, I've actually got another graphic with the actual names. And this one I wanted to bring up on purpose because it's very true. It says too many characters. Well, let me tell you, not too many characters in this thing. Uh it's just about right. Mondo Gecko, played by Paul Rudd, very enjoyable. Bebop, April O'Neil. Again, I overall enjoyed the character. Didn't mind any of the little changes they had to her and stuff like that. It, uh, Baxter stuck me. Yeah, that was the scientist in the beginning of the movie. I'm sitting here like, who is that? Ray Follett is Post Malone. He's got a couple of singing scenes, kind of nice. What am I saying? Nice. I don't really like Post Malone all that much, but he's not going to ruin the movie for you or anything. He's a fine character. Maya Rudolph is Cynthia Uttram. Pretty awesome. She was really entertaining. Leatherhead again, very funny. Mondo Gecko listed again on this graphic. Interesting. Genghis Frog, that's his name. Rocksteady, of course, Wingnut, and Superfly. So there you go. That's pretty much the whole cast of mutants, and you get an awful lot of them. So what I would say is overall, if you're on the fence about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. Go see it. Go check it out. I think this is a movie that should be supported. It does not have any obnoxious messaging in it. It's just a genuinely fun, light movie that you'll be able to go into And if you're someone who liked Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as a kid, then you're going to be able to bring your kid to this movie and they're going to enjoy it. It'll be an opportunity to, get them like off of this scene, them on their phones, which you can empathize with the turtles a little bit, living down in the sewer. You can actually empathize with these teenagers being on their phones and just wanting to connect to a larger world outside of themselves. So I'll say, as of right now, we'll say that that is it for non spoilers. And I'm just going to go into a little bit of the basic plot of this movie. We'll touch on some light spoilers, and just give you a little bit of a deeper context here. So here's the Turtle song briefly again. Who knows? We might already be in trouble for playing this, but let's do it again. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, heroes in a half shell, turtle power. All right, Turtles. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, really tight and well-written movie. You know what it really reminded me of a lot was Into the Spider-Verse, the first one, because you genuinely have like just a good solid story, introduces your characters, gives you the world that they live in, gives you the rules, plays by the rules, and then gets out clean and sets you up for a potential sequel that you're excited for. So there you go. First spoiler, a little bit there. This movie does lead to believing that, yes, in fact, there will be more Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies. Yeah, I guess if we all support it. But again, what I gotta say, I would go out and support this movie. This movie is fun. This movie is enjoyable. So you've got your classic plot. Starts off with our scientist guy here getting attacked. He has a bunch of little experiments, and his experiments get taken away by this mysterious corporate group. Once again, run by Maya Rudolph's character Cynthia Uttram, who's not a character that I'm familiar with from back in the day, but if you do know her, if she was she even in those movies or anything? I kind of want to say no, but he's created a bunch of these different little experiments and stuff. Superfly kind of being like the oldest and first of them. That scientist unfortunately is killed in the accident, and the ooze that makes the turtles goes down into the sewers. We meet the turtles who are just kind of trying to like scratch by and survive. They're stealing stuff that they have to survive on. So, if you wanted to be really critical of this movie, you could talk about how the turtles are stealing things from trucks and maybe getting people fired occasionally because they're getting blamed for the theft. But at least they're being very blatant about it, using their ninja like equipment and stuff and cutting holes in the trucks. So for the insurance, as far as they're concerned, you figure that they can explain that. The turtles are pretty likable boys. They're just trying to go grocery shopping. They're just trying to get their thing going, so that they can survive with their dad, Splinter, man. We find out through a little bit of backstory that Splinter, just the same as it always is, found the boys with the ooze. He also got some of the ooze on him. He immediately transformed into an adult rat. They were baby turtles, and he raised them to be ninja fighters. This is pretty funny. There's like a solid montage where they're learning their ninja skills, and uh, it's Splinter just learning corny self-defense tapes from the 90s and kung fu movies. And that's where all their training comes from, which for the purposes of this movie is pretty enjoyable. But still the boys, they long for the outside world. While they're out getting the groceries at the beginning of the movie, they're tempted to kind of spend a little more time out. We get treated to the wonderful clip of Ferris Bueller where he's at the parade taking it over. But it gives you some context to the turtles. They think that taking over a parade as a teenager is a very normal thing. They don't realize that's absurd. It's fun. It endears you to them. So the turtles, they long to be out in the world. They're, stuck there in the sewers with Shredder, who's, mistrusting of people for good reason. He's a rat before he became a mutant rat. He was not liked by people, as you can imagine. And in the flashback that we get of him raising the turtles, we see that they did in fact have a relatively unpleasant interaction once with people that kind of scarred him on the whole thing. But still, the turtles, they're going out each night. They're getting a little more familiar with the world, and each one of them is wanting to get out there for different reasons. Well, one fateful night, they're practicing their ninja skills. They throw a ninja star, and it hits the head of April O'Neil. I kid you not, hits her right in the head. She's wearing a helmet, so I guess she's okay. She gets pissed at them, starts yelling at them. Uh, However, while she's doing that, she gets her bike stolen. The turtles then follow the guy who stole her bike to a chop shop, where they get into their first big fight. They end up winning the fight, as you can imagine. Spoiler alert here, hilarious moment where as a car comes on, the car turns on and Go Ninja Go by Vanilla Ice is playing. That was amazing. That was very unexpected, and that was a nice little moment of, funny nostalgia. Literally 3 seconds of that song, and then the car's, like, turned off again. So they win the fight, they meet April, they kinda give her backstory. We learn that April herself, we learn this a little further down the movie, but, basically, as you can imagine, April's a bit of an outcast herself at school. We can assume it's 15 years. We know for a fact it's 15 years that the turtles are old. So we can assume that April is about their age, going to school and all that kind of stuff. And then the other mutants, we can assume are probably just about around that age as well, with the exception of Superfly. So April and the turtles both kind of realizing that they can benefit each other, decide like, hey, why don't you guys fight crime? I'll report on it, and then I'll get all this footage. We'll have this wonderful story where you guys look like heroes. Because their basic logic, which is well written in the movie, is I would be scared of you guys if I met you on the street. You're a walking, talking turtle person, but you saved my bike. You helped me out, so it made me like you more. So they decided to do that on a wide scale. They're doing it for popularity. They work their way through a series of low-level crime bosses. Very great, like good montaging in this movie. Genuine, like really good montaging where they're just moving through it. They're moving you along in the movie, and you know what? Like there's not a lot of time wasted. Honestly, there really is not. You're just kind of like cruising along. Uh, they're giving you the montage. You're getting, again, they've had their first real fight with these people in the chop shop, so you're getting a little bit more of like connectivity between the group, how they're starting to work together, their individual weapons that they're like getting good at using. It's honestly pretty solid stuff. And they, of course, then begin to work their way up to Superfly, who they have no idea that Superfly is in fact a mutant. Uh, this was also, again, a little spoiler alert here. Good twist in the movie, man. So the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles meet Superfly, and he wants to include them in like his plan. He's been stealing tech all over the city. So the low-level criminals have been stealing the tech, bringing it to him because he's been threatening them, and he's going to use this tech to kill the human race, and convert every animal into a mutant like them. So although they know this message is super messed up, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are kind of excited to have a new group of individuals that are a little bit more like them. They end up teaming up with Superfly, having a nice little party night. They get to kind of know some of these characters. But of course, when the time comes, April's still kind of tailing them. She's like, "You guys gonna like take the weapon, right?" They attempt to steal it. They hijack the van that they're traveling around. They kind of feign to Superfly, like, "Yeah, we'll work with you." And of course, he takes it back. So that moves us into the third act, which I'll save full spoilers here, But the third act takes you into a genuinely satisfying finale between the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Superfly. There's some really good stuff there of like, even though you might not be accepted or society might not get what your whole shtick is about, what the whole show is about, you still got to do you. You still got to give them the show. You still got to provide what you can provide. And again, the turtles are very true to who the turtles have always been. You've got Leonardo leading the pack. You've got Michelangelo, the fun comedic relief. Donatello, nerd to the max. He uses his nerdy capabilities to help save the day towards the end. And Raphael, who I identified the most with, as you can see from my little profile here, my icon, uh, he was just great, man. Just pissed off and angry and ready to just fuck shit up, man. The one thing I'll say in the third act too, it's got this good tying into the overall message of like being rejected by people and then ultimately like people kind of stepping up and accepting them and working together. I'll just leave it at this. It gave me strong Spider-Man 2 vibes. So New Yorkers banding together, all that kind of stuff, which yeah, even for a Philly guy, I like that in a movie, it's a nice vibe. And then yeah, you end up having a great third act, one that doesn't end simply. It builds and builds. You kind of have like your first take on your first sort of portion of the battle. Things escalate. They attempt to, fix the situation, and then there's some regrouping that needs to happen. As you can imagine, the movie ends with a happy ending. And I won't go into the super specifics of it, but stick around for a mid-credit scene. You will get a mid-credit scene. There is no end-credit scene. But what there is, drum roll, people. I'm sure you've been waiting for it. Shredder, the hint of Shredder. And that's one thing I also got to commend this movie for. You had a villain, Superfly, that I was not familiar with. I don't know if he's just like brand new for this movie. I wouldn't be surprised with that. He reminded me an awful lot. Like, even just look at the design of him, He reminded me an awful lot of Gnarls Barkley, that video, Gone Daddy Gone, where what's a CeeLo Green is a fly. Very similar design, But what it reminded me of was that video. So Shredder at the end, big hint of that. That's a promising sign because it means that they've got their heads on their shoulders and that they're expecting enough success that they'll be able to get a couple of stories out of this thing. Another spoiler alert here while we're on the note of Shredder, was not expecting like all the mutants except for Superfly to turn sides. They all go good. They all go good. So that was pretty interesting. That's a pretty big spoiler too, but this is the very end of the video. So if you made it this far, well, why not, right? So all the mutants go good, and that'll be interesting to see where they go in the next movie. I'm kind of curious just to see what kind of developments we have going on here. But yeah, overall, I'm gonna finish it up here just by saying Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Madness is absolutely worth your time. Something that you should go see in the theaters. I want to see the sequel to this movie, so I hope it does well enough for that. And if you have any concerns, like, it's just a fun movie. Like, honestly, it was a really fun movie. There's a handful of things that you might roll your eyes at. Like, first off, like, April, the Turtles, they're 15 in this, so there's no need to go into it any further than that. And, at the end of the day, for me, I just kind of saw it as like April O'Neil, to be honest with you, looks just like the Turtles. So it makes sense that, Leonardo here is looking at her and is like, "You look just like me. You have a shell. I, I need this in my life." It made sense, So again, I know some people got up in arms about that, but it actually made sense for the plot when you think about a turtle person falling in love with a real person. Surely only that design of character is the only thing that is even remotely not just completely perverse as far as, you know, I mean, what would that turtle be thinking? That's not going to work. No way. How does it even work with the turtles? There's a lot of questions that they're going to have to answer if they're going to move forward with that plot. But again, that's the 3% that you're going to have to worry about. Just thinking to yourself, how does a turtle love a lady? That obviously is the type of lady a turtle would love. It is. Admit it to yourself, buddy. And yeah, so here with our little final image of the crew: Leo, Ralph, Donatello, and Michelangelo signing out. Take care of yourself, and hey, till the next time, do what you got to do. Support live movies.